All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, a few weeks ago, the Dallas Cowboys looked like world beaters, and for good reason. I mean, in week number 11, the Cowboys steamrolled the Minnesota Vikings 40-3 in their own building. And of course, the Vikings are currently leading and they have won the NFC North. Now, the Cowboys would follow this up in week number 12 with a workmanlike win at home on Thanksgiving Day over the division rival New York Giants. And then they followed that up right after coming into week number 13 at home against the Indianapolis Colts when they simply ran roughshod over the Colts and they put up 54 points over that squad. And just as it seemed that Dallas was ready to shed their image of underachieving and coming up short, they struggled at home last week against the lowly Houston Texans, the Texans team that has only won one game this year. And then Dallas would have to come back in the waning moments of that contest in order to win. And the Cowboys then took the field today as a slight favorite on the road against the upstart Jacksonville Jaguars. But Dallas knew that they had to be on high alert on the road versus the Jags because this is an improving team. And then on top of that, Dallas is trying to keep up with the Philadelphia Eagles for the top spot in the NFC East. But it was the same old Cowboys today as they found a way to lose a game that they should have won and needed. And I say that because Dallas blew a 17-point lead in the second half of this contest. And their highly touted defense gave up 503 yards of total offense to Jacksonville. Dallas was only able to muster one sack of Jacksonville quarterback Trevor Lawrence. That came courtesy of Micah Parsons. But then overall, Dallas just simply failed to close the door today against this Jacksonville team. The Cowboys, they found themselves up 27-10 with just about 20 minutes left in this contest. And it almost seemed like Dallas just took their foot off of the throttle as this was no big thing. They were doing their thing early. Dak Prescott was so efficient in the first half throwing the football. This defense was getting after Trevor Lawrence. At least they forced an interception. And it was one of those where it seemed like, okay, we got this. And then, of course, Trevor Lawrence hooked up with Zay Jones to make the score 27-17 in favor of Dallas still late in the third quarter. But just before you knew it, Jacksonville got back into this game. Their defense stepped up. They forced an interception by Dak Prescott, which led to Trevor Lawrence connecting with Marvin Jones. And just like that, Dallas's lead of 17 points was down to 3. And before you knew it, Dallas had to rally because Jacksonville came back and took the lead. And Dallas did take the lead late in the game. They drove down the field on a 13 play, 75-yard drive, which culminated with Dak Prescott finding Noah Brown in the end zone for a 13-yard pass with about 3 minutes left in this game. But then it looked like Dallas was ready to close the door. Jacksonville was driving. They forced the fumble of Trevor Lawrence. They recovered the football, but Dallas could not get a first down in order to ice the game, and they gave Jacksonville life. And then on top of that, we saw the Dallas defense be unable to keep Jacksonville out of field goal range. And of course, the Jags got down there. They took care of their business. They got in field goal range, and then Riley Patterson, as time expired, connected from 48 yards out to send this game to overtime. And then in overtime, we saw Dallas stop Jacksonville's offense. They got the ball back, and then of course, Dak Prescott threw the interception that was the game winner as Rayshon Jenkins got the walk-off 52-yard score for Jacksonville. And it's one of those where you look at the first play, the first interception rather by Dak in the second half. He forced it under pressure. And then the second one, it was a scenario where it was a bad throw by Dak, but also Noah Brown's got to catch that ball because you look at it, Dak was backpedaling and throwing across his body. You're not going to get the torque or velocity, if you will, on the ball, but he still found a way to get it in there to Noah Brown. Noah Brown's got to go out there and make that catch as it hit him right in the breadbasket. Bounced off of him. Rayshon Jenkins, Johnny on the spot, picks it up and takes it to the house. And of course, when it's all said and done, Jacksonville got the win that they needed to keep pace with the Tennessee Titans atop the AFC South while Dallas, now falls to 10-4. They're still going to be a playoff team because they're locked in to that 5 seed now because there is no way in the world that they're going to catch the Philadelphia Eagles for the top spot in the NFC East. Philly is just playing too good. And it's one of those where Dallas once again got in their own way. And, for me, I talked about the two costly interceptions from Dak. They did everything but win today in regards to the Dallas Cowboys. You had 154 yards on the ground. CD Lamb had 7 catches for a buck 26. Noah Brown had the 2 touchdown grabs, but of course, the costly ball that he did not catch in overtime resulted in Jacksonville getting the win. Dallas's defense as a whole, they could not stop Zay Jones, Christian Kirk, and Evan Ingram as they basically did everything that they wanted to all afternoon long. And, it's one of those where I just talked about it that Dallas is not going to catch Philly now. They can stick a fork in any chances that they had to win the NFC East. Now, in order for them to reach the Super Bowl, they got to go on the road and get 3 wins. And the big question is, do you trust Dak Prescott in January to go out there and get that done? And for me, the answer is no. It's one of those where Dak and the Dallas Cowboys consistently find ways to come up short in these scenarios. We saw it last year, of course, in the playoffs when they lost at home to San Francisco. We've seen it come up at the most inopportune times this season for the Dallas Cowboys, and it came up once again today as they found a way to lose a game that they really should have won. Now, Mike McCarthy has gotten the penalties under wraps the last couple of weeks. Dallas has definitely cut down on the penalties, which is good because you cannot consistently go out there and shoot yourselves in the foot. But just like Dak Prescott finds a way to consistently come up short in these scenarios, just like the Dallas Cowboys as a whole find a way to come up short in these scenarios, so does Mike McCarthy with his coaching. And it's going to be interesting to see if and when that comes back to bite McCarthy and the Dallas Cowboys in the backside once again. And it's unfortunate because you look on both sides of the football, Dallas is one of the most talented teams in the NFL, but they continue to shoot themselves in the foot. And of course, once you get into those postseason scenarios, the mistakes are heightened. There is very little room for error in the postseason. It's not like any other sport. We're not talking about the NBA, MLB, or the NHL. It's not a playoff series. It's a playoff game. It's basically sudden death, win or go home. And you cannot go out there and consistently shoot yourselves in the foot like this and expect to win. And this is what the Dallas Cowboys are doing. They're locked into that number 5 seed there, which means they're probably going to get the NFC South winner. It's one of those scenarios. Do you have to go to Tampa Bay and face Tom Brady in January? We got to wait and see. Or is another one of those teams from the NFC South going to find a way to step up and win that division? We have to wait and see on that as well. But then, if Dallas gets past that game, they got to go to Philly. And they've already lost at Philly this year. They've got Philadelphia at home this Saturday, which is going to be the game because Philly is looking to probably wrap up home field advantage throughout the playoffs with a win there. So Dallas really has a tiger by the tail. They then have to go to Tennessee, which is fighting to win the AFC South, and then they finish on the road against a Washington Commanders team that is surging right now. In Washington, I keep talking about this with Ron Rivera. His teams, they fight, they scrap, they claw. It's not pretty, but they find a way to win. And I guarantee you that could be a tough game for the Dallas Cowboys as well. So it's going to be tough for Dallas. All of these games are going to be tough coming down the stretch. And most importantly, from their sake, they got to find a way to go into the postseason with some positive momentum. You don't want to go in there limping in. You got to find a way to take care of your business, or else it could be another short trip to the postseason. And of course, if it's another short trip to the postseason for the Cowboys, the second guessing, the finger pointing, and the questioning will begin. But nonetheless, this was a game right here. Credit to the Jacksonville Jaguars. They are an improving team. They are a young and coming team, and this could be a dangerous team in a year or two, probably a little bit quicker than 2 years, probably more than one. And credit to Doug Peterson, their head coach. But nonetheless, if you're Dallas, you got a 17-point lead on the road. You got to go out there and seal the deal. Your defense comes up and makes the key stop and gives you the football back with under 2 minutes left in this game. You got to go out there with the mentality, get one or two first downs, run out the clock, and get the game over. You couldn't do that. They let this team back in the game. They gave them life. And when it was all said and done, Dallas is heading back home, licking their wounds after a heartbreaking loss today to the Jacksonville Jaguars. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. You can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I am signing off, saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.